right, so this may come as a shock to you, but in my 10 plus years now of running a barbershop and working with hundreds of barbers and generating millions of dollars in revenue at this point, I've come to believe at this point, I don't believe that the ability to do a good haircut is the thing that's going to make you successful in the barber industry. Some of you guys might not agree with that, but this has just been my experience since running a barbershop and working with different barbers, different personalities from all across the world. And I just believe that if you really want to succeed in the barber industry, whether you're a barber, a barbershop owner, a hairstylist, if you work with people, you have to understand that there's one simple truth when it comes to barbering, and that you need to know more than how to cut hair. So in this video, what I'm going to try to explain to you is what I've observed over the 10 years now of running my barbershop and being a barber myself, so that hopefully you guys can start to understand that it's there's a lot more to it than the ability to do a good haircut. So this is one of the videos in my series of laws of barbering, the things that are true no matter what type of barbershop you're in, no matter where in the world you are at. I believe that this applies. So hopefully this helps you. So let's get into that. So the first thing I want to talk about today is basically what I believe is the ability to do a good haircut is not the only factor that determines your success as a barber. And this has been reinforced over years and years of me seeing what I thought were really good barbers, or at least people that I thought were really good at cutting hair, fail in my barbershop. And it could have been maybe I wasn't a great leader at the time or whatever, but what I've seen though is that sometimes people come in the shop, right, that come to us, and most people that come to us don't really have a clientele. So we help them build from nothing. And I see these people start, and they all start with about the same resources. And for some reason, some people succeed and other people don't. And like I said, they all have the same resources. They have the same marketing behind them, the same that we run the same ads to fill their chair. They're seeing about the same amount of clients, but for some reason, some barbers build up way faster and stay busier than other barbers. So I got really curious. I got really curious a few years ago as to why this is, and I think I figured it out. And I simply think it's just because of the fact that if you only know how to cut hair, then you're only going to get people that care about that. And you're also going to be basically a commodity, right? Because nowadays, people can get a good haircut anywhere. So if all you can do is compete based on the skill of what you can do with a pair of clippers or scissors, then you're also competing with everybody else in the world that also knows how to do that. So I look at this as kind of a pyramid of skills. This is a graphic that I shared on my Instagram a little while ago, but I really believe that this is true. So you absolutely cannot build as a barber or a barbershop owner, especially, unless you have the base of the pyramid, which is the ability to do good services, like high quality services like haircuts, beard trims, shaves, and whatever your barbershop offers. But that is just the first step. And I think that you're not really going to reach the next level of this industry unless you start to master these other things. Okay. And this is from the barbershop owner perspective, but this also works for the barber perspective, because the barbers that I see that are the most successful in my shop also understand the business and financial side. They also understand marketing and branding. They also understand how systems work and my vision for how we're building this business. So you also have to understand these things in order to be, even if you just plan on being a barber, working for somebody else, if you really want to see what it takes to grow the business, you have to understand the business side behind it. But what I want to talk to you guys today about is really some of the things that go into what determines whether somebody comes back or not, retention, which is one of the most important things in our business, right? If you're not tracking retention, then you don't really know if your business is growing or not. Like, period. I didn't track, I get it. Like, I didn't track retention for the first 5+ years of being in business, but I didn't really start to grow the business until I started to understand, like, oh, we aren't that great at keeping clients, right? And there's no way you can know that by guessing, right? Maybe you can figure it out doing the calculations by hand. But for me, the first step was switching to a software that tracks all this stuff automatically, right? So now that we don't have to we just pull a report from our system and it tells us everything, right? And then we know where we need to improve. But how do you keep people coming back? And I can tell you from personal experience, it's not just about the haircut. Because, like I mentioned, you can get a good haircut anywhere. You might not believe that, but haircuts are a commodity, right? This is why people often, it comes down to price, right? Because if you're offering the same thing as everybody else, then naturally they're going to go with the cheapest option, right? When you go to buy something on Amazon, if these two things are exactly the same price, well, you're going to go with the one that has better reviews. Or maybe they have the same amount of reviews, but one is cheaper. So which one are you going to go with? The one that's cheaper, right? So I think that the barbers that I've seen that are the most successful have some of these characteristics right here. They're adaptable, right? They're able to adapt based on the person in their chair because some people like to talk and some people don't. Some people like you to take their time and stretch the haircut out. Some people want to get in and out as quickly as possible. So the barbers that are the most successful have the ability to adapt to what's going on. And if you're working for a small business like ours, you also have to have the ability to adapt because the business owner might change things on the fly, right? And if you can't adapt to that, then you're going to be left behind, right? But customer service and consistency, I think, are probably the two biggest ones because I've seen barbers that were probably like on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best in the world. They were probably like a 4, like haircutting skill wise, but their customer service was like a 7 or 8. And that more than made up for the fact that they weren't the worst at cutting hair, right? They certainly can get better at cutting hair, but if you have other skills basically to make up for the fact that you aren't super great at cutting hair, then I think in my experience, it can actually make up for the fact that you're not the best barber in the world, which should be really relieving to those of you that are just getting started because you have to understand that yes, it's important that you know how to do a good haircut for sure, and that you do good services, and that you're consistent, and that you're finishing appointments on time. But if you're not talking to your clients, if you're not establishing a relationship, and you're not making them feel like you care about them, that you're genuinely interested in them, well, then you're going to struggle to compete with the barber that is, period. Because if you're both doing the same quality haircuts, even if your haircuts are a little bit better, the barber that has customer service in my shop usually wins, right? I've seen barbers that were very, very skilled barbers, like the nicest fades that you've seen, sharp lines, scissor cuts are on point, everything's almost perfect, immaculate. But they never showed up to work on time. They're always calling out. They never talk to their clients. They rush through the haircut or they take 2 hours on the haircut, right? And all these things kind of cancel out the fact that you're really good at cutting hair because it's the big picture that clients care about. I'm getting a haircut, but what else, right? So this is kind of how I break it down here. Some of you guys may be visual people like me, so this is a super expensive thing that I put together for you guys just to illustrate the value of what I'm trying to explain here. So let's say that we have two different barbers, right? One is very, very skilled, like amazing at cutting hair, amazing at beard trims, amazing at shaves. And again, we're going to use that scale of, 1 being the worst in the world to 10 being you're the very, very best, right? You're on stages, you got tons of followers because your haircuts are perfect, 0 flaws. So we're going to say that this barber is maybe like an 8, okay? But they don't know how to market themselves. What good is, being so skilled if you don't know how to fill your own chair, right? They have 0 customer service because they have this attitude of, oh, my haircuts are good enough. If my haircuts are good enough, people will find out about me, right? Build it and they will come mindset. They don't care about selling, right? So barbers, that think all I got to do is good haircuts usually aren't good at sales. right? Because they don't think of their job as sales. But I can tell you, as a barbershop owner, the barbers that make the most money usually have some sort of sales skills, right? They are selling products, they are selling memberships, they're selling people on why they should rebook, they're selling people basically on why they should come back, right? So they're not selling at all. Their retention is awful because they just have this mindset of, you know, I'll raise my prices and then new clients will replace them and, whatever. And then they're definitely not consistent, right? Because they don't keep track, they don't keep notes on their clients. They don't take pictures, they don't do anything, right? So every time the client comes back there, if the client comes back, it's something new, right? Because they don't remember what they did on the guy last time. They didn't take the time to take notes. So we're going to give this barber A, who's very, very skilled, one of the best in the world, maybe, right? But if you see his score, it's going to be an 8 here, okay? Now let's say that barber B, not that great at cutting hair, okay? This barber knows how to do a decent haircut, right? But she's not going to be winning any barber battles with this skill that she has, right? So we're going to give them. She's not terrible, right? But she can do a decent cut. So we're going to give this barber maybe like a. Let's give her a 4, okay? And so, but she does understand the concept of marketing, right? And she's not the worst in the world, but she's trying a little harder than Barber A. So we're going to give her a 2. Customer service, though, is excellent, right? And she's remembering people's names. She's putting notes in there. She's asking them follow-up questions about whatever they talked about last time. So we're going to give this person maybe like a 3, right? So as you can see, we're at 6, 7, 8, 9 already. And then let's say that with this barber, right, knows how to get people to come back. She knows how to get people to buy products. So as a barber, as an asset to the company, she's actually really, really valuable, right? So she's not the best in the world, but she can sling some products. She can get people to rebook, and then she's getting people on the membership so that they come back more frequently. So we're going to get this person a 3 again. Retention is amazing because the customer service is there, the sales is there. She knows how to fill her chair. So we're going to give this person we'll give it like a 3 there, right? And then consistency. She's doing all the things that we talked about, the notes, she's remembering people's names, she's reliable, showing up on time, not calling out sick all the time just because it's a slow day. So we're going to give this person another, let's give her a 4 here. So you can see now we got 8, 10, 13, 16, 19. So as you can see, this is how the real world works. You know, I'm telling you from experience that one of the easiest things that you can start to understand as a barber or barbershop owner, if you're struggling right now, it's probably because you have some false belief about how the world works. The people that are the most successful in this industry are the barbers that understand how the world actually works, not the way you want it to work. People value more than just the ability to do a good haircut. At the very least, they want a good haircut every single time. But if you know how to market and fill your chair and keep it full on top of that, and you have great customer service, you're treating people like they're a guest in your home, and you know how to sell stuff, how to sell products, how to get people to rebook before they leave. And if you're keeping people coming back and you're consistent at doing that, then you are a more valuable barber than somebody that just knows how to cut hair. Period. And these are the things that they're simple, but they're not easy. But anybody can do that. And if you're just getting started in this industry, or even if you've been doing this for a while, this should be good news for you because you don't have to spend more time learning how to cut hair. Maybe you're already good at that, but you need to focus on these other things that are actually going to add more value to you as a barber. Because think about it, you could go from like an 8 to a 9, but if you don't work on any of these other things, then you're always going to struggle as a barber because you're missing a huge chunk of what it takes to be successful. And that's just the stuff that happens in the chair. There's also the business stuff and knowing how to market yourselves and then creating systems. So this is why I created our Barbershop Owner Mastermind. This is our free group that anybody can join. But if you're a barbershop owner, this is why I created this one. So I can show you guys the stuff that has at least worked for my shop, right? I'm not like claiming to be a guru or the world-renowned expert when it comes to everything to do with building a barbershop, but I don't talk about theory on this channel or in my community. I talk about things that I'm actually doing, that I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on to learn and help grow my shop. And I give away a lot of these things in my communities, right? So how to fill your chair with meta, with marketing, how to get ranking #1 on Google, how to hire barbers and stylists. These are all just samples of things that I give away inside of my community. The link to that is in my bio if you're interested. But the most important thing of this video is that you understand this simple concept that you have to be able, if you really want to be successful as a barber, you have to understand that it's more than just being able to do a good haircut, period. You have to work on other skills. You have to have the haircut foundation down first. But once you get to like a 4 or 5 out of 10, then I think you need to shift your focus to some of these other things that are actually going to help grow and keep your chair full. Otherwise, you're always going to struggle in this business and you're going to be thinking something's wrong with the industry when no, you're just lacking the other skills that it takes to build a business. These are all business skills that can help anybody, whether you're a barber, just an individual barber working for somebody else, or you're a barbershop with teams of people working underneath you. Then you have to get your team to understand this too. But definitely always try to improve on your technical skills. You can probably always make your haircuts a little bit better. I know I can, but it's not the only thing, right? You're going to get way more learning how to market, how to work on customer service. And arguably it's a lot easier, right? There's plenty of books and courses on customer service, sales skills, and things like that. Showing up on time, showing up, regularly. These are all things that are going to be just as valuable to clients, and if you work for somebody else, to your barbershop owner, than just the ability to do a good haircut, right? And this is the way the market looks at how they value barbers. So the barber on the bottom, it can probably make more money than the barber on the top because they have more skills. So your skill as a barber, your combination of skills is always going to be the biggest lever on your income. If you only know how to cut hair, then you're only going to make what barbers make. But if you understand the business side, you understand marketing, you understand customer service and retention and sales, then now you're more than just a barber. You're a business owner now, and your pay will start to reflect that. So you have to understand these things, implement them in your barbershop if you really want to grow to reach your full potential. So, yeah, hopefully you found that valuable.